Hello, everybody. This is episode 86. I haven't hosted for a long time. That's why I look the way I do, because I'm a bit shell-shocked that I got a chance to host. We're going to have a fun episode talking about the internationals coming up. I do, however, want to say thank you for everybody that subscribed. Thank you for everything that you guys are doing for us. We love your comments. We love to see it. Please keep it coming. We are forever grateful for it. Brevin, Casual, how's it? Welcome to this podcast.
Thank you. Feeling good. Nice little cold weather for once. Feel like we're in the UK. Well, we're sitting in a country that actually needs it a bit. So I'm fine with it. At least the winter here is not like your Joburg winter and whatever, where it feels like you've been blown away or there's a tsunami on its way. So we'll take it. I'll take it, to be fair.
Anything less than 15 degrees and I'm freezing.
Well, Joburg just got hit with the cold front, so it is cold. And I just trained in this weather, so I'm not a happy chappy. But we move. Let's talk about some rugby and hopefully warm ourselves up.
Yeah, speaking of cold weather, in July there are some teams traveling, going around the world. And there's a team called the Irish coming to South Africa. They're calling it their summer tour. I don't know why. It's like literally the coldest month of the year in South Africa. So I'm pretty sure the name should be the winter tour. But, they're so backwards. They're going to call anything to please everyone.
Well, Brett, you know what I find very odd about it all? When we travel there, in December, they call it the Autumn Nations, right? So when they travel here, you gotta go with what we call it over here. Like,
yes, exactly.
I mean, we just call it Castle Lager Incoming Series. I mean, that's all we call it. We don't call it winter, summer, whatever. We just call it what it is.
Yeah, this is true. I do have before that international window there on the 22nd of June, there are some test matches taking place that are quite exciting, but there's one specific one. Yes, South Africa is playing Wales and Barbarians are playing against Fiji, but the game that I'm actually looking forward to there a little bit is the Japan versus England game. And the reason for me being so excited is because Eddie Jones has been doing some digging, and he hasn't got actual long-standing coaches. He's got a guy like Victor Matfield. He's got a guy like Owen Franks, who's actually still playing for the Crusaders.
Should die if you just look at their team season.
Yeah. So that's going to be extremely exciting. I think Eddie is up to his naughtiness again. What do you guys think of that test match? Or you're not actually as phased as it?
I'm very up for it. I'm going to watch that. I don't care if it's 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning or every single hour, right? I don't care. I will watch that game because we know when Eddie puts his mind to something, he can be exciting, right? And he's put his mind to, okay, I hate England. And that is why what makes it so exciting. His first game as the Japan coach, once again, is facing his former team. A team that he's done crazy stuff for, that has so much there's so much controversy around why he was fired, should he have been fired or whatever. I think he goes out and tries to put a world-class performance on Steve Borthwick. And I think he can do it. I really think he can do it.
I agree.
It's exciting. It is exciting because obviously England will want to build off what I think they punched a bit above their weight in that Six Nations. I think they played a lot better than what we expected. Obviously, it wasn't the best, but I think they improved heaps and mounds more than what they were in the World Cup, even though they got so far. But like you said, Eddie Jones is a guy where he will want to prove a point, and he didn't get the chance with Australia to go and face England in the World Cup. But now he gets the chance to face them with Japan, and he's got the coaching power to go out there and make a statement. But it all comes down to the players. As we know, this Japanese team, one minute they can be cooking something special, and the next minute they look like they don't know what they're doing. So Eddie will have to get these guys like really, really prepared, because I don't think England are going to go there and slack off. I think England will give it horns, but at the same time, you can never count out a Japanese side. We've seen they've brought the All Blacks very close when the All Blacks traveled there. I mean, for goodness sake, when Eddie was coach, they beat us. So, Eddie can do anything he wants. He just has to put his mind to it.
Yeah,
One thing that we need to remember, Casual, the one thing we need to remember is that the 22nd of June falls outside the test window, and the Prem teams are not releasing their players, but the Japanese players are. So
True
Japan
story.
could be full strength, and England could be willy-nilly. So this is going to be exciting.
And I don't want to hear excuses of we didn't play our full strength team, okay? Because you've got so much talent. We've heard about the depth in this England squad and how many guys can't get picked or whatever. Like they should still most likely go out there and win in terms of how good the individual players are. But what I like about this Japanese game is it's played in Japan. We know how the World Cup was there. We know the crowd will come out. They will be absolutely loud. And then once again, just Eddie Jones with the enemies that he's just made in that England camp. And I just want to see Eddie come out after the game if they win and say that is why I didn't pick you. Because there was always talks about his squad selection, and I want him to absolutely hammer on guys that he never picked, just to kind of make a point. Because it's not that I'm the biggest fan of Eddie Jones, but I do think he is a rugby treasure and he should be protected.
I agree.
He is personality, whether he backs it up or not. He is personality, and we love to watch him. He is box office. So I just want him to come out after the game and say, "Listen, if you, that's why I didn't pick you." And people were really slagging him off and taking some of his accomplishments away as if he never accomplished it and acted like he was this average coach. He is very accomplished. He's achieved a lot. He's made some of the biggest upset victories. So I put a lot of respect on his name. I still believe he's one of the best. Maybe not the best anymore, but I want him to go out and win this game. Obviously, because we don't like England as well. So
But
no.
I just have a question though. England only have their policy is you can only select players that play in England. So how are they going to get players
They're
if they
going to
can't?
waive it. They'll waive it for this Eddie Jones
But
game.
the thing is, when is the Prem final? Is it this week Saturday, or is it on the 15th?
On the 15th, but the point is I don't think they'll waive it for players coming through the ranks. Their stars, I don't think their stars are going to play because they got a tour. They have to tour now, so I don't think their stars are going to play. Maybe some might play, but I don't think it's going to be full strength.
Yeah.
I think obviously the two, maybe the semi-final and the final. Obviously Northampton Saints, Bath in the final, but obviously Saracens were in the semi-final as well. And I can't remember the other side that was in the semi-final, but yeah, they're gonna listen. If they go there with a very weak side, I am a bit worried for England, because a Japanese full strength isn't a joke. Like, they're not gonna lay down. So
And
yeah,
and the Japanese league this season has been very strong with all the internationals coming through. They've really picked up in terms of their physicality, getting used to more like actual pro rugby players that play in the best leagues coming to their teams and stuff. That will really boost their confidence in terms of knowing how these boys play. And yeah, like England can't take this game lightly at all. It should be a formality for them to win this game, but the odds are stacked against them in terms of the storyline. It's in Japan. Japan's playing better rugby these days. They do love an upset. So it's kind of tilted against England. So they have to go out and put on a performance. I agree with Brett. They can maybe play some fringe players. I don't think they'll play anyone that necessarily played in the final, but people that fell out here in the quarterfinal, they can play. Like, seriously, it's 4 weeks from now.
Can we agree that Eddie Jones is the Donald Trump of rugby. You're either gonna love him or you're gonna hate him, but when he puts his mind to it, he gets the job done.
Yeah, well,
I
another
think
note, if you whether you like him, love him or hate him, you're gonna watch him. That's just the thing. Sorry, Brilliant.
I get that comparison, but the way if I put it in sporting terms, I think I compare him a lot to Jose Mourinho, right? Because he
Yes.
is he talks his mind. He won't back down from any question. He'll answer any way he wants. But at the same time, like don't test the guy. But also he coaches so many sides. He'll hop from side to side. We see Jose doing the same thing at the moment. And obviously, I'm also going to say Eddie in his past, well, especially with Australia. Obviously, Australia, we know there's probably issues in the higher scheme of things with the board and etc. I think there's massive issues there, and maybe Eddie couldn't do what he wanted, but obviously underachieved if we look at it on paper with Australia. So this is his chance to really find some form as a coach and make his name, quite a renowned worldwide. Well, obviously, he's a worldwide name, but make his name known for playing good rugby again. So he will definitely want to not even win, but batter the English. So it's going to be very exciting.
Yeah, at one stage, I also thought that there must be from the higher ups because we know how disjointed the Australian higher ups are. But then again, Eddie Jones is also the guy that didn't select Quade Cooper and Michael Hooper. So
Yeah.
it's also it could be a bit of both. So let's hope we've always known that he's got a soft spot for Japan. So I think he's back where he wants to be. He just hopped ship quickly for maybe he wanted to buy another mansion or something. But and he probably got it. So
No, but
moving on.
he's truly loved in Japan as well. So
He's
it
half
feels
Japanese.
like homecoming to him as well. Yeah.
I don't think we should really focus so much now on the Welsh game for the Springboks. I think we've dived quite deeply into it. I actually want to go on to the actual test matches on the 5th of July. One game also, so obviously Samoa is playing Italy, sorry. Then New Zealand, England. That's why I think that some people in the Japanese game won't necessarily feature in the Japanese game because they have to go to New Zealand. So that's one for me.
Yeah, no, yeah, of course. Like, I'm actually very keen to see what this English side can do in New Zealand, especially with New Zealand having Scott Robertson as the new coach. Everything's just, it's actually a very. I love the fixtures that have been set for this July series all around the world. Like, I think obviously South Africa, Ireland, England, All Blacks. I think it's also Wales, Australia, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe even Georgia's playing a test there as well, I think. So yeah, but like with England and New Zealand, like, I see it going one or two ways. England somehow like really make it tight, and it's a very close match or two matches. I don't know if they're playing two or three, but then it can also go where New Zealand are like, listen, bud, we are so hurt from this World Cup loss, and we're going to come make statements this whole year. And Scott Robertson, like many have predicted, he's going to do amazingly. Many have predicted he's going to maybe flop so everyone has different opinions on this. I'm of one where I think he's going to do all right. I think he's going to get the guys. I mean, we see what he can do with the Crusaders, and look at the Crusaders now. But yeah, I just think it's going to be feisty.
Yeah.
So I'm keen for that.
I think when it comes to Scott Robertson, he might not look the best or get everything his way at the start, but he will get the results. Like, they might not make it the most convincing performances against England. If you look at England's performances against Ireland and France, it was a lot better than what we saw in the World Cup and early stages of the Six Nations, but they're not a consistent team. And if we want them to struggle against Japan, they're going to really struggle against New Zealand. And I think this New Zealand team will be ready to go. New coach, new era forming. The aura around Scott Robertson. So I think they smash England. Maybe not the best looking game, the first game, but then the second game they will really explode. Like if you've looked at the pace that they play already in the Super Rugby, the New Zealand teams, they will crush this New Zealand team if this England team, if they don't get that rush defense right, which they didn't get right in the Six Nations, they will get killed. I'm not even joking.
Yeah, it's actually, if you think about it, it's a new era for two coaches of two of the best teams in the history of the game. Australia with Joe Smith and obviously Scott Robinson, New Zealand. So those two coaches, it's their first game as coach. So I can't think of a more nerve-wracking start, because the world takes those mid-year matches very seriously. It's like look at Ireland. They're still gloating about beating New Zealand there like 25 years ago. Or it was the other day, but it feels like 25 years ago. So it's massive for them. So I do feel that maybe if the Welsh can cause a little bit of a shall we call it an upset in Australia, that'd be quite cool. I do like Smith though. So
let's be real though, like you can't. Obviously, we know Wales have fell off a lot, but I think they picked up a bit of slack come the Six Nations. They weren't fantastic. Obviously, we saw them fight hard in many games, but just fell short. But I thought they were a lot better than what they were before. Before the World Cup.
Who?
Is Gatland gone now?
No, he's still there.
Not yet.
Gatland is Wales. Like that guy's going to stay there till whenever he wants. But yeah, I mean, I'm not going to count Wales out because we still need to see what Joe Smith can do with that Australian side. If that Australian side is similar to what it was with Eddie Jones, I think that match or those two games can be horrible, like really horrible. But if Joe Smith can come in there, and obviously we know what he could do with Ireland, and he could implement his ways there in Australia. But like we all say, we don't know what's happening higher up there. You know, is he being given the support that he needs? It's one of those things. So yeah, I'm not going to count out Wales, but if Joe Smith gets it right, it should be a simple series win. But I just also wanted to ask you guys, you guys can comment on the Wales game after this, but I just wanted to ask you guys, how do you think England approaches that New Zealand test? Similar to the way they played us in the World Cup semi-final? Like, do you reckon it? How would you approach it?
They're not going to match them with pace. They're going to try and make this game ugly and tight and box kick. That's what I think. Like you can't play the running game against New Zealand in New Zealand. Like there's no way they're going to match that pace. No way.
I actually little bit disagree. I don't think New Zealand's going to make the game tight. I think that if it's going to be, if it's Scott Robinson, it's flair. He wants.
No, I was talking about England.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I'm asking how England will play against. Because I don't like Casual says, like if I'm England, I'm literally approaching the game the way they approach the semi-final against us. Like it's frustrating. It's frustrating. It's annoying, but it works. It works because if it works on me behind the screen, it's working on those players as well. So yeah,
but without the kicking.
Yeah, because obviously if the kicking isn't great, we know what an All Black side can do on the counter attack. So their kicking has to be on point. And with Farrell obviously not being there because he's now made his move to France. I don't know if they've made exemption for him or whatever, but that will come out. They haven't. Okay, so
that would be favoritism ever. That would be ridiculous.
Imagine. But yeah, I think England have to find a way that works for them. Like, I know you're trying to build into a better structure of rugby, but you don't want to kill your players' confidence by trying to meet the All Blacks at their own game. And then, so it's interesting times for England and the way they approach this.
Listen, before we move on, I just want to make a final statement. Like, England, you can forget about winning a game in Auckland, okay? They're not. New Zealand don't lose in Auckland, okay? And secondly, you can forget about winning a game this series, because New Zealand will be up and ready for it. They would know, listen, England are targeting these games, and New Zealand will want to take some confidence going into the championship because they know Joe Schmidt, new coach bounce that they might get. They know now that Rassie is the coach of South Africa, we'll all be there. Like the South Africans will be loud and proud. So they need some confidence going into those games. And I think they will be ready and they will put on statement performances against England. Even though it's not necessarily the most pretty, they will find gaps and they will score tries. That's what New Zealand does. Now, anyway, we can move on to Australia.
Yeah, I think we're done with Australia. I actually want to jump ship completely to the Argentine game versus France, because I think if there's ever two teams in the world that you don't know what team is going to pitch, it's those two teams. I mean, Argentina literally 1 week beats New Zealand. The next week
In New Zealand,
50,
crazy.
gets 50. So, and the same with the French. They could be amazing, and then they can lose to the Springboks by 1.
Yeah, and also no Anton Dupont.
Yeah, that's massive.
Yeah, so
like
that's going to be tricky.
Yeah, like people.
Yeah, sorry, Evan, go.
No, sorry. So I'm just gonna be quick, but like, I don't think people realize how influential Dupont. Like, I know we should. Everyone says don't play for one player or don't count on one player, but realistically, the French are so reliant on Dupont just because of the aura he brings to the field. Like,
Look at
obviously, I mean, the guy's a freak. I mean, what he does is just unbelievable. But when like it's like us having Eben Etzebeth on the field, like everyone just becomes 10 times more confident because they know they're playing with Eben Etzebeth. Artie Surveyor is one of them. You know, it's these guys that have aura about them. So without Antoine Dupont and this game obviously being played in Argentina, which is a horrible place to play. It is horrible. Even to watch it on television is horrible. It's everything is just about it is just horrible. So yeah, it's going to be tricky for the French.
This heavy mist over the field. It just feels like you're watching it through like a visor.
It's weird. It is weird.
You, as much as Dupont means to France, that's how much a home game means to Argentina. When they start singing, you know about 17 of the 15 boys on the field. They are going to start crying. And you know the passion is coming out. But the thing is, what kind of sways it for me to France's direction is the fact that Argentina is shit. Like that's just the way to say it. Like look at the performance they put up against England. Look at the performance they put up against New Zealand in a quarterfinal. Like those boys.
Yeah, but they've got also a new coach now starting. They also got what's it called? Three retired players. So it's we're not going to know anything about this. Contepomi is it Contepomi has taken over as head coach of Argentina. So yeah, it's going to be completely different. So we don't know.
The thing is, what I feel like is when Argentina touches a World Cup, it's just not they're not the same. They really are not the same. When they play in their little when Argentina plays in just a normal series or in the Rugby Championship, you know they're going to be on some other kind of form. I don't know why. Maybe it's just but I mean, and like you said, like playing in Argentina is very difficult. But I think the French should have enough to get it over the line.
Yeah.
They should. And if they don't, even without Dupont, that's not good enough. Obviously, we know I honestly think, considering the bigger picture, they were the worst team that didn't match their ability in the Six Nations. Like, the French they were not I think they were not worst on obviously results, but they were the worst considering what we know they can do. So
in terms of standards,
yeah.
But
so
they're not going to be as bad as they were in their Six Nations. I think a lot of those boys take momentum from the Championship Cup that they just had and stuff. So, and where does most of the Argentinian boys play? Like,
I was also going to say that.
Rusty. So, I think France, they do it pretty comfortably. They will want to make a statement after their Six Nations. That was horrific. So I don't think it's a big debate. I've got France to clean sweep it. Maybe one or two, maybe one or the other games is close, but yeah, I've got France to still take.
And then the thing we've been looking forward to the most was every week I hear a new article or I read a new article of another Springbok player that's injured. It's now Damien Willemse and Louis de Jager, and all these players are injured. And yet we're going into a test series against the cockiest team in the world, or the cockiest fans in the world, but they probably feel the same way about us. So it's actually just going to be another back and forth. So I just hope that we can stay a little bit more injury free going forward with the next few URC games, because the Irish are coming, baby.
Yeah, well, I literally just saw a video on another social media platform, like at the lock crisis we have. And before anyone says this is an excuse, it's not. We still expect South Africa to pitch up. I will not be using it as an excuse. We don't do that on this podcast, so don't worry. It's not an excuse. But I've noticed, like, Eben obviously missed the Bulls game because of a sore back. I don't think that's true. I think that's just resting.
Eben likes playing the injury card himself and then saying, okay,
apparently, Ergis Snyman, luckily he misses in the URC, but apparently he might get a ban for a tackle he made in the Ulster game, 2 or 3 games. Luckily, that will be missed in the URC.
Lucky for our URC teams as well, because he's outstanding.
Yeah. Like, at the end of the day, gents, like, I just think we just have to take advantage of the home. It's at home. Obviously, we've played Ireland a lot over there. And last time we played was 2016 in South Africa, if I'm correct. So, and that was in the Alistair Coetzee era, which was
with all of his bouncing.
Yeah. That's probably his best game of his career was against Ireland.
Yeah, and probably also his only game that he really pitched up for South Africa.
Exactly. So how are you guys feeling about that? Are we still on the same page? 2-0 clean sweep?
I would go for the 2-0, and it's not disrespectful towards Ireland. I just think the home ground advantage is massive for us, and we know what's at stake. And I know people talk about us in New Zealand being in the final, but the big debate is Ireland better than South Africa, even though, because they beat us in the World Cup and we won the final, right? So we would say, yeah, but we are the best, but they would say they beat us. So it's kind of to settle that score. And we know when it comes down to it, when it really matters, our boys pitch up. And whether they have an injury or they don't have an injury, they will be playing that game. Eben Etzebeth can snap off his leg 2 hours before he has to get on the flight and fly to Loftus, and somehow he'll get there and play the best game of his life. He will not set out a South African game. The same with the likes of Ergis Snyman or Damien de Allende, Damien de Allende feels like he's never injured. But that's just...
Touch wood, but please, we need that oak.
I saw a highlights clip of him the other day in the semi-final against Jesse Creel, and he was insane.
Yeah, he's looking good. He's looking really good. So, Damien, we in Casual literally made it will come out in due course. No, it will come out in due course. But we spoke about how De Allende is just so influential for the Springboks. Like, he is incredible. People think he's selfish and whatever, but like we literally said, like when you don't have him, you're like, damn, do we actually need this oak in the team? Because he does so much incredible work. So massive player as well.
Just the final thing on South Africa versus Ireland, like the kind of excuses that we've made over the years is that we always play at the end of the season. It's at the Aviva. So kind of things are against us. We've got our injuries or whatever, right? Kind of things that every team would say, but we hammer on it because that makes us feel better, right? Now the tables are turned, right? So they've already played their Six Nations. They've dead after the URC. Obviously, we've played the URC, but a lot of our boys play abroad, which is better in Japan and stuff. And now it's at the start of the season. It's at home. Everything is kind of in our favor to finally say, listen, okay, well, you beat us there, we beat you here, and that's kind of what we want. We can't afford to lose to these guys. Never mind once, twice. Imagine if we lose with them clean sweeping us.
I did
And
read something that Cranberries have come up with a new song. It's exactly the same lyrics. That changed the word from zombie to Rassi.
you can. I think if you're a bookie or you're someone that likes to spend your money and maybe earn some back, we'll say it that way. Casual's one of them. You can bet your bottom dollar, like Loftus and especially Loftus, they are going to blast that song the whole game, the whole, and the Loftus crowd is gonna soak it in, and they're just gonna and listen. Obviously, that can be taken in one way or another. Obviously, it's in good heart. We don't mean it in a bad way. But the Irish need to let that fire them up. Like, okay, you want to take our song? Okay, we're coming for you. But like, also, I think the Irish,
if that song riles them up.
yeah. But obviously, the Irish are dealing with their own injuries as well. Like, we have to be
Yep.
fair. Like,
And
they're
no
not they.
Hugo Keenan as well.
Yeah, because he's also going to the seven. So we also, it's fair game. It is fair game going into this. And I think, you know what, as much as we banter the Irish, what they've done to be able to get to being in the conversation, not obviously of in history, but at the moment, get in the conversation of the Springboks, the All Blacks, being up there with the best in the world. Massive credit has to be given for such a small country, to be able to have such talent. And obviously, there are some overseas players that play there. We banter them for that as well. But it is what it is. They have a lot of Irish, well, majority of them are Irish, and I'm just looking forward to this because I've said it. This is such an important series. It's up there, not obviously as important, but it's up there of the importance of the World Cup. Because if the Irish win a game here in South Africa, they have every right to come and say, we beat the best in the world in their own country. And then they can have... So it is important for me as a fan to see the Springboks win this 2-0.
Yeah,
But
and the thing is, we wouldn't talk as much shit and banter them as much if we didn't actually, to a degree, respect them in terms of saying they are a good team. Like, if we just waltzed over them every single time, we wouldn't even really care about them. They would be like the game against Portugal. But the fact that they do have fans and they do have some pedigree behind them and they do push us, in fact, they beat us how many games in a row now? That just makes it so much more lovely. So I'm really looking forward to it. But boys, bias aside, I am shitting myself as well. Like, I am very nervous.
I can't lie, I am. Like,
I've got the gastro. I'm telling you now. Already.
I'm sure they are as well.
At least for me, I have the perfect hair color to be on the fence. So whoever wins, I'll put on that jersey and nobody will ever know.
Oh my word. Would you actually wear another country's jersey? Great.
Yeah, I practice. I do all the time. But I mean, you guys just need to remember that my entire family is Irish. That's where they're from. They were born. So it's me against them because they all flipping they talk like funny.
Oh goodness. Okay.
That is us for this episode. You guys have anything else to add to that, or can I just tell the people how grateful we are that they like and subscribe all up to our posts?
Tell them how grateful you are.
Yeah, tell them how amazing they are. We love you guys. Please subscribe. We really appreciate it. Yeah, Brett, close it off for us. I'm just taking.
I don't need to anymore. You did well. Bye.
Bye.